Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm John Waters. I'm the moderator of this wonderful Meet the Candidates event. And before we get started with questions and answers from our candidates, please join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And I should have mentioned, I'm John Waters from the Valley Courier. We are one of the sponsors of this, as is the Alamosa Chamber of Commerce, KSPK, which is broadcasting this live, and the city of Alamosa. The format tonight will be for you, the electorate, to ask questions of these candidates. And the way that we're going to do this is you can write down the questions, and Erin will be collecting them. You can hand them to her, and she will pass them up to me. And the idea with asking questions is really exactly that. For you to have a brief, concise question, we can ask the candidates, and they can answer. We're going to start with an introductory statement from each of the candidates, which will last 3 minutes. And when you ask questions, please maybe write them down for something that will just take about a minute for that to be recited. And then the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer, and we'll move on. So as we move into our introductory statements, let's hear from Mayor Ty Coleman. Mayor, good evening. You're live.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you all for showing up tonight. I am out of town at work-related meetings in the Denver area and headed back to Alamosa, and I really appreciate Holly Martinez, our city clerk, making arrangements for me to join via Zoom, as this is a very important opportunity for people in our community to get up to see and meet the candidates who are running for the open positions. As mayor, I would like to just say that I'm really thankful and grateful for the city staff that we have and also the city council that we have who've been able to work in harmony with one another for several years now, sticking to some of the guiding principles of our core values and working with civility. I'm very thankful for our different departments that we have, from our public works departments, our finance departments, finance department, the city managers department, the police and the fire department. All of those are critical to the advancements of the city of Alamosa. And we have a great team of people. And I like to use the acronym TEAM, TEAM, which means together, everyone achieves more. All of the successes that we've had over the years is because of the collaborative efforts that we have strategically worked with community partners. We also work with different housing initiatives and things of that nature to make sure that we're dealing with some of those issues and concerns. And even now, so we're working with finding ways to create opportunities for early childhood development care resources. So I just want to thank the community as a whole for all the work that you've allowed us to do as a city. And also, I just want to make a note, John, since I am running unopposed and I'm really grateful and thankful for that opportunity. I don't mind having more of the questions focused on the open seats that where they're contested. So if you want to direct those questions to them, I'm happy with deferring some of my time so that we can get a chance to meet those candidates and hear their points of view as well. But I just want to thank the city for the opportunity of allowing me to be mayor over the past 2 terms, and I'm looking forward to the next term as mayor.
Mayor, thank you. And we'll move on to Mr. Alex Brown. Mr. Brown is running as a write-in candidate for Ward 4. We're just going to go down the dais here. Mr. Brown, your opening statement, please.
Yes, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. As he said, my name is Alex Brown. I am a lifelong resident of Alamosa, Colorado. I have lived on the south end of the town my entire life. Pretty much, I've always enjoyed living here in Alamosa. Never really wanted to go anywhere else. I've always been very, very thankful for the opportunities that the city has provided me. I have been a EMT, paramedic, and nurse for the last 28 years. I've worked at almost every major healthcare facility here in the Valley, from the hospice to, oh gosh, all of them pretty much over the years, either through volunteer work or collaborative work or each place. So I went to Trinidad State College. I went to Adams State College. I feel like I was very lucky to do that. I was one of the first people in my family that was able to do that. And so, like I said, the town's always been very, very good to me. And I'm grateful, for the opportunities they've had. Basically, I just look forward to representing the people in Alamosa on my end of town. I think it's important that we have representation on that side of town. It seems like we might get forgotten once in a while. Sometimes people kind of just forget us on the other side of the tracks. And I think it's important that we have somebody who is from that area, who cares about that area, and really wants to keep that area improved and, just looking better, getting better, little things, sidewalks, gutters, the park, different things like that, that basically I think I can be helpful in trying to make sure that people get what they need and are represented in a fair way and by somebody who cares about them. And that's pretty much all I can think of for now.
Terrific, thank you. And now we'll move on to write-in candidate for Ward 4, Mr. Mark Martinez. Mr. Martinez, your opening statement, please.
My name is Mark Martinez. I do not grow up in Alamosa all my life. We moved here when I was about 15. Grew up on the east side, moved from my mother's house to my current residence on the south side in 1997, in November of 1997. Many people from this town know me as the former store manager at Safeway. I'd been there for 29 years and enjoyed that. Moved on to insurance, and now I currently work for the Bridge at Alamosa, helping seniors in their later stages of life. Last time I ran for city council, this building hadn't been built yet, and we were still in that little tiny room upstairs in the old building. And then I became a manager at Safeway, and they wouldn't let you run. You couldn't hold a political office and be a manager there. So I didn't even think about it for a long time. When this one came up, I was like, well, I can finally do it now. I've always had a voice, always very opinionated. So I figured might as well try to put myself in a position where I can do something about it and help the people that I can. Lived on the south side, like I said, for almost 30 years. I understand some of the aches and pains that go with it. I don't live far from the airport or from the baseball fields or all the other areas down that area. I see all the little pains that go through there. And I think that there can be some miscommunication on how it's being handled. I think sometimes the messaging is lost. And I think that as a city councilor, I could help probably move that message along a little better or see if there's different opportunities and ways to fix it. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Gentlemen, thank you. And I apologize if this is going to be a little bit redundant. These two are write-in candidates. So please be sure, I want to implore those of you in the audience here and listening on the radio, write down their names because they will not be on the ballot. You'll have to write them in. Gentlemen, thank you for your opening statements. And let's move to the at-large position. We have challenger Zachary Reeves. Mr. Reeves, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to thank the people up here on the stage with me. The big thing to remember is that we're all here because we want to see improvement in our town and the valley at large. And it starts by changing small things and making sure that things snowball into large differences. That's essentially why we're all here. The other thing that I wanted to start with is that I like Jan. He's awesome. So it is one of my big regrets right now that I have to oppose Jan in order to apply for or to run for this position on this council. And with that, I should tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Zach. I grew up in this valley. I really don't like talking about myself, but the things that I wanted to let everyone know here is what I am made of, who I am. For the people that haven't had a chance to meet me before, I try to lead with honesty. I try to be the person that people can rely on and to count for concise, accurate information. And when it comes to issues that are facing our town, what I really want to do is understand the issues and then try to find a way to look at them that is different from what has already been seen and maybe make the difference to try and make things change. I like to say that it's not about if I will make change in this town. I will make change. It's just about how I'll go about doing it. This is one opportunity. This isn't the only avenue that I will go about helping this community. And I have done small things on a person-to-person level so far in the last few years by working with Jade Communications to help people on a home-based level to stay safer, to understand the technology that's so new to this world, and to make sure that people are taken care of as best I can. The campaign slogan that I chose was listen, learn, lead. That's exactly what I intend to do. I will listen to people. I want to hear your voice. I want you to use your voice. I don't care if you vote for me or Jan. I want you to use your voice to get your opinion out there so that it makes a difference. And that's the huge thing that I'm here to do, is to encourage people to vote. And with that, I will close with, I'm really glad for this opportunity to be up here in front of you all and on the radio and on the internet to let people know that we're here to make a difference. And whether it's Jan at the seat at the end of the election cycle or myself, there will be great change and we will make this town better. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves, thank you. And now we'll have an opening statement from Mr. Jan Vigil, our incumbent for the at-large position.
Thank you. Mr. Waters, the Chamber of Commerce, KSPK, and the Valley Courier, thank you very much for putting on this event. I think it's very important to get our faces out to the public and see who they're voting for in just 4 or 5 weeks. Mr. Reeves, I really appreciate you too. I'm glad you're up here. I'm glad I'm getting a challenge. This is not mine. This is democracy. This is, you know, if you have better ideas than I do, let's talk about them and let's have the people make a decision. 12 years ago, I ran as a no-name candidate, just a young punk college graduate, going up against the incumbent and the former mayor, and I had no chance to win that election. And I won, I think, because I just worked my tail off, knocking on like 80% of the doors in this town. And I was honored and blessed 12 years ago to be afforded this position, and I've taken it very serious. I'm a public school teacher. I've been in Center for 12 years. I met my wife here at Adams State. I graduated here in 2013. I've been in Alamosa the longest of any place in my life. I think that shows folks that I want to be here. I want to raise my family. I want this place to be a place where people can live, work, and play. Met my wife here. We have 3 beautiful daughters. My wife is the K2 principal. And we have done so much over the last 12 years, over the last 4 years. And it's not me, it's the team that we have assembled up here. along with our staff. They do a phenomenal job. They work really, really hard. I've had to make an adjustment in the way I think. 12 years ago, I thought I would go in there and change all the stuff, and no, like you get shocked, you get punched in the mouth really quick. That government takes time, and that you have to listen to a lot of people to affect change, affect positive change. So I've realized that I'm one of 7, and we have to come together from different backgrounds, different perspectives, and do what's right and what's best for the people of Alamosa. And so I'm really, really big on that. I think we've done that. I am very proud of our city and our council for meeting very tough issues the last 5 years, especially from homelessness to a struggling economy to trying to create the best environment for economic growth. We had issues with our police chief a couple of years ago, so we just have faced a lot of issues. And I'm proud that we're a council in a city that meets these challenges head on. We don't put our head in the sand, and we meet the work that's presented. So I'm very excited to talk about the issues tonight. I appreciate you all being up here, and thank you very much.
Mr. Vigil, thank you. And now we'll move on and we'll hear opening statements from incumbent Don Krebs. Please go ahead.
Thank you, John. I echo Jan's thanks to the chamber, to the radio station, to the newspaper for coming together to bring this to the public. For everyone that took time out of their day to be here today, thank you so much. My name's Dawn Krebs. I represent Ward 2, which is the neighborhood over by the high school and back beyond that. And I work for SLV Health. I'm a grants manager. And I came to Alamosa, a little bit about myself. I came to Alamosa in 2013. We moved here actually for my husband's job. He's a fish farmer in Sanford. And I just fell in love with the place. And what I discovered was there was so much opportunity to serve, to help out, to volunteer, to meet new people, and to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so from that, for years and years, I helped out in small ways. I volunteered here. I served on boards and committees there, but nothing too big. In 2021, this position, I wasn't elected into this position. So it's an interesting story. I read in the newspaper that this position had been vacated by the person that had originally been elected into it, and that the council was holding interviews for candidates to fill the position on a temporary basis until the next election cycle rolled around. And so I thought, well, why not? And I had been watching the city just casually over the years and saw all the strides they were making with their recreation, with their parks, things like with the library, and I just wanted to learn more about it. And so I sat and interviewed with them, and I was very humbled to be chosen for that. In 2023, I had to run for the seat officially, but just to fill out that 4 years. So I was in it until the next election cycle, and then I had to run to fill out the last 2 years of the 4-year term. So if you see my name and it sounds familiar on the ballot, you saw it a couple ballots ago. And I ran unopposed, and I was able to keep the seat. And I think in itself, that was a very educational experience, because sitting up here for 2 years, I learned so much, but being able to be here almost the entire 4 years gave me the ability, as Jan said, to look back at the growth of things that were discussed that long ago that are now coming into play and being seen by the public. So I'm very happy to be part of the completion of a lot of projects and seeing the beginning of new ones. And so Now I'm officially running. I'm officially throwing my hat in the ring for the entire 4-year term. So one of the things I really enjoy, and everyone up here is talking about addressing the issues, and there are issues to be had. But I also want to point out that
Don, if you could wrap it up.
absolutely, there's opportunities, and everybody has an opportunity to sit up here and be on committees and boards, and I urge everyone to do that as well. Thank you.
I want to thank all the candidates, and I'm going to lead off with a question. I met a member here in the audience today, this evening, who is a resident of the Century Mobile Home Park. And I'm going to paraphrase her question to you all. First of all, she wanted me to extend an invitation to all of you, all of the candidates here this evening, and Mayor Coleman, to visit the Century Mobile Home Park. And she's concerned about the poor conditions there. And the question is, as a candidate, what can you and if elected, what can the city do to improve the conditions there? And we'll start with Mr. Brown.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I drove through there 2 or 3 days. It was 3 days ago. The conditions there are quite troubling. Like I said, I grew up on that side of town. I had several friends that grew up there when we were young, very young. And I remember it being a very nice, area. The people there were all hardworking. They took good care of their property. I still think it's a good area. I think there are some people there that do not maintain things as best as they can. I understand mostly that's probably either due to inability to do it or financial circumstances. So I think if the city can do something to get in there and help some of these folks that are becoming elderly, as a nurse, I've seen, the aging population where it's harder and harder, when I do home visits and go to see people, it's hard, it's hard for, an 80-year-old person to get out there in the sun and, well, the weather's good here. It's really hard to do anything in the winter. And in the summer, it's gotten quite a bit hotter over the years. And I can see where it's hard for them. I've seen some of the quotes people get for landscaping and yard work and housework, and it's expensive, especially on a fixed income for older folks or, single mothers. I grew up without a father. I knew what it was like, to have to do things, that you can't afford to do. And so, borrowing the neighbor's mower to cut the grass and, and learning how to fix a car when you're, 9 years old, so it's hard. And so some people are disadvantaged. I would say there are some folks there that just don't really seem to care. But at the same time, I can tell, like I said, I drove through the other day. There's a lot of people that do care about their properties there, and they do, they do maintain them. I think the biggest thing that concerned me is, seems kind of like a safety hazard, especially for children. There's a lot of empty trailers and they're accessible and you don't know what's going to be inside of there. If they're bored, they're playing, they're doing something. So that's my biggest concern with that area.
Wrap it up, please.
Sure. That's my biggest concern is mainly the safety, public safety in that area.
Thank you so much. Mr. Martinez, your answer?
So, like I said, I kind of live in that area. I'm just a few blocks down from the Century Mobile. And I agree with Alex. I see that it's been in decline over the last few years. And I know the Housing Coalition has taken over the ownership of the property. And they're working with getting it up to code and getting it in better shape because previous owners had started to let it go a bit. I think as part of the city councilor, we could, as part of the city council, we would hopefully work with the Housing Coalition to see what we can do. I know the water lines there are a major issue, and I think that's a big hazard. I think that if you have water leaking, it can create foundational issues and stuff for the buildings out there. So I think working with the Housing Coalition as part of the city, working with water lines and some of the other utilities and stuff. And then, we have to get some code enforcement out there and stuff like that. It's almost hypocritical sometimes, the code enforcement thing, because, you know, we're writing tickets for people who can't afford a lawnmower, stuff like that, and then sometimes the city's property isn't maintained as it should be, so. But I do think that's part of the thing we can do to help out there. And then just really, it's the housing coalition that we'd be working with. So trying to get out there, working with them, and Dawn Malgares, I've known her for a while. She's a really good person, and I know they're working to see what they can do. They've got to work on grants and stuff like that, so hopefully we can help them with that.
Terrific, thank you. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you. After hearing the question about what can I as a person or a candidate do and what can the council do to help better the conditions in the trailer park, got to thinking about the conditions that I've seen there. I agree that there are some trailers that have been let go and are in desperate need of either a serious overhaul or to be hauled off, which of course costs a lot of money. I know that our city council's has already been working on projects to help this area. And there's things that I've seen that, or at least heard of, that are talked about that are really great ideas. Things like doing safety regulations there where we have cameras and lighting to make sure that our people are safe at night when they're walking around in that area. I had friends that grew up there when I was in college, and I was astonished at how the trailers looked then, and that was too long ago to really want to think about. But the idea is that with any part of our city, we look at the factors of community and we try to help people who need help. And too often it's, what can you do for me? When it really should be, what can we do for each other? We have to build our community up. That area, mostly the south side, I've spent time talking to people there. And a lot of the times people go from their house to their car and drive as fast as they can to the north side of town to where they feel safe. We need to work on our community. We need to improve the conditions and the care for each other in this society so that we can prosper and grow. Thank you.
Mr. Vigil,
Our response time's 2 minutes?
2 minutes,
Okay.
please.
So thank you for the question. The constituent who wrote this question, I have talked to this constituent just within the last 3 weeks. And she is right. There are some things down there that need to be addressed and fixed. The Alamosa Housing Coalition has taken that place over the last 2 years, and it has gotten better from before. It was really, really bad. It's gotten better, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. So Mr. Martinez brought up a good point that there's a lot of grant monies that the Housing Coalition can go after to help with things like bad water and septic systems. If there's safety issues, we can ask our police to do more patrols in the area. I believe when I talked to this constituent a couple weeks ago, she talked about maybe the trash. There was trash all over the place. So I think that's an opportunity where the city council can put some good pressure on whoever services the trash out there to do the job, do it right, clean up. Yeah, I think we have a great opportunity as a city council to put good pressure on the services that are being given down there to do things right and do it for those folks. I'm a city councilor at large, so I represent everybody in town, and everybody in each neighborhood, north side, south side matters, and what they have to say and their voice and their concerns matter. And so it's also a good thing that if we keep talking about it as a city council, we can get the wheels moving and get things better down there. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Ms. Krebs?
Thank you. Yeah, Century Mobile Home Park has been a topic of conversation throughout the city and with the city council for a little bit now. I do have to give props to Dawn McGallis. She stepped up when it was getting ready to be sold because she knew what was going to happen to those lot prices if it went into the hands of private individuals. And so, but with every good deed comes some struggles, and the struggles there were they only have so much in their budget and through grants to fix up that park. And so and as they start to fix it, as we've heard through progress reports, they fix one thing, but it uncovers another issue. So while at the moment they're trying to do a blanket coverage of the entire park, I can see how some individuals can be frustrated with what seems to be a slow progress. But it's an ongoing progress, and that's the important thing. Instead of the previous owner that was letting it decline, this is more of a continual progress. I think what we can do as a city council is to be there when help is requested, see what we have in our toolbox to assist people and to assist the coalition with whatever they need to move it forward. But then as individuals, we could come together. We saw it with the bridge, painting the murals on the bridge to cover very offensive symbols on there. And I thought that was amazing, and I was happy to be a part of it. If there was a work group or an organization out there that wanted to do a 1 or 2 day cleanup out there to help those individuals that can't help themselves, I'd happy to be a part of that as well. So thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Mr. Mayor, your take?
Sure. I'll just be clear on this part here. The city, from the first time when Don Melgares, as well as the Housing Coalition, first entertained the thought of purchasing the mobile home park, the city was one of the first to step up to see what we could do and what we could provide in the forms of assistance to help the people who are living in that community. With that being a privately owned park, as a city and municipality, we are limited in what we can do. But
Mayor, your mic went out. Mayor, we can't hear you anymore. Oh, what happened? I'm not sure what happened.
Mayor, we have lost your audio. Well, we may come back to this. Do we have any written questions from the audience? The chamber, the Alamosa Chamber of Commerce, was kind enough to elicit many questions from the public, and we will start with those. And I think I'm just going to pick some of these at random. This is a good one. What would you see as the biggest challenge facing Alamosa today, and how would you begin addressing it on day one? And we'll start with Mr. Brown. 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one thing. I would definitely say the drugs, and that's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's not just our town. It's, you know, the whole country. So that is something I think probably harsher penalties for possession and distribution. Definitely see a lot of the same names in the paper, a lot of the same addresses in the paper, with the same things going on, you know, same people, same location, same stuff. And so for me, I've lost a lot of friends to friends and, you know, colleagues, just people I know, associates, to drug use over the years. Like I said, I've been here my entire life. I can count on probably all my fingers and all my toes of people I've known that have either had overdoses or are very, very sick now from it. It's a huge problem. So that would probably be the number one thing. In my area, I have been in contact with the police chief and Officer Birch as far as becoming the block captain for the neighborhood watch. And that does include the mobile sentry. And so that's something I'm in the process of finalizing now. And so that's kind of the idea behind it. In the area I live, I can see quite a vast part of town. And like I said, we've got people just sitting there getting high in public. And so, like I said, I think the penalties for that need to be increased. Definitely, you know, this catch and release thing is not working. You know, like I said, same people, same place, doing the same thing. And then other than that, really, I think the best thing to do is just, you know, the code enforcement does a great job. My mom was a dispatcher when I was growing up, and I listened to the scanner all the time, so I'm kind of still do. And I hear, you know, she works hard. I listened to her give probably 15 parking tickets today, you know, so she does work hard. She does a good job. It is a lot. So, is that my time?
Yes, that's your time.
Thank you.
And Mr. Martinez, your take, sir.
So, as Councilor Vihil said, it's hard to attack anything day one. It is a collaborative effort, and you do have 6 other people with different opinions. Like Mr. Brown said, drugs in this town it's everywhere. It's not just the south side. It's not, you know, it's everywhere. I've been on all sides of it, and I've seen them. Drug use doesn't start just because they want to. It comes from mental illness, depression, sometimes a sense of hopelessness. And so I think economics plays a big part in that. And so I think what we could look at is some of the economic situations. And for example, mobile sentry. The reason Don and the Housing Coalition wanted to take it is because a lot of people were going to become homeless if it became into another set of private hands. And so, you know, we have to, as a city, find a way to, number one, boost this economy a little bit. I know we're in a downturn right now, and there's a lot of factors in that, but we need to figure out how to boost it. We're a tourist economy. When I was working at Safeway, I could always tell if we're gonna have a good year or a bad year over the summer, depending on how much snow we got in the wintertime. I would tell my boss, listen, it's gonna be a rough summer because we're not gonna have the tourists that we normally would. So we got to figure out how to stabilize it and keep it, you know, to where people are making money all the time rather than just if tourists show up. That's one of the things I think we could work on. If you help the economy in the area and you help build morale of the people and you get mental health issues, mental health help, I know behavioral health group here is pretty good, but still, if we get this mental health for them, we can solve some of the drug issue. Some of it's just they want to do drugs and it's never ever going to change, but a lot of it's because they kind of feel hopeless. So I think if we start with mental health and work on the economy, that will help some of those issues, especially the homelessness issue. Really want to work, if I'm here, with the Housing Coalition.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you. 120 seconds to boil down the biggest problem in Alamosa is kind of hard, to say the least. I feel like there isn't one biggest problem. I feel like it's a holistic approach. You cannot have drug problems without economic hardship or a cycle of introduction to young people that then grow up to introduce it to more young people. You cannot have a economic downturn without first looking at what you're doing for the economy to like keep it up during a recession. Like he said, it was a fantastic point. I think the biggest problem in Alamosa today is the mentality of us versus them. North side versus south side. Democrats versus Republicans. Fighting each other instead of for each other is what's causing a lot of the problems in this community. If we come together as a society, if we work together, we can accomplish anything we want. It's just a matter of working together and not letting our differences get in the way. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Mr. Vihel?
Thank you, sir. So I hope through this, we have more discussions about a bunch of things, but the question was, what is the biggest challenge? And in my opinion, not to make light of drugs, because it's an issue and we're attacking it and we're getting after it. But for me, it's planning for growth. Housing for me is the biggest issue. I think we need to be very smart with how we're growing Alamosa. As you can see, if you drive around town, there are new apartments and houses going up all over town. We did a housing study, I believe, and I'm not really good with dates, I think 6 or 7 years ago, and we found through the study that we have a lot of high-end housing for high-income earners, and we had a lot of for the low income. We had a huge need in the middle income housing. And I'm glad, again, with the team that we've assembled, city manager and everybody else on staff, we have gone after different grants and we've wooed people to come down here and build. And the three biggest things I can think of are the Iron Horse apartments by the high school. We were able to help get the Mobile Century with the Alamosa Housing Authority. We have the Boyd School housing in the works. And we have this huge housing development going up on the southwest part of town, the Montana Azul. So we are addressing the needs of housing, which is a good thing. That means people want to come. We must be doing something right. People want to come here. They want to move here. They want to live here. They want to grow a family here. So I think if we just keep on working on housing and doing it a smart way, smart growth, so that it meets our infrastructure needs. I know Harry Reynolds with our department there is working on, if we put a bunch of houses over here, how is that going to affect our sewer system and our waters and that? So all that stuff is very important, and we're going to keep going after good housing. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Ms. Krebs?
Thank you. I'm going to like almost mentally take a step back from the question, because I feel that the biggest challenge is making the community of Alamosa the place that we want people to be here. We want to be here. We want people to be here. We want our kids to grow up here. We want people to visit it. We want people to live here. We want people to own a business and make the downtown thriving. And so it becomes a balancing act, because if we focused on, as a city, if we focused on all what's wrong with Alamosa and all of our energy went into that, we would diminish all the good that's here, all the trail systems, all the efforts we're bringing to advance the parks and everything that we're trying to do for the youth and the children in the area. So it becomes more of a balancing act. So the biggest challenge is to try and stay where we're addressing what people feel to, like the homeless issue and the drug issue, and paying the attention that those desperately need, but by still maintaining and even trying to grow, as Jan said, what we currently have and make it from a place to live to a great place to live. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. And here's another question that is a perfect segue about housing. And the question is, how should Alamosa approach housing affordability and housing supply? And if you have any specifics, I'd love to hear them. Mr. Brown?
Yes, housing has always been an issue in the valley, valley-wide, just not here in Alamosa. It's an issue. A lot of older buildings. I think one of the biggest problems is the college. The rents are extremely high due to the fact that the landlords know that they can rent a 3-bedroom house for $1,500 a month, $1,800 a month, $2,000 a month, because the kids can afford it. And I think that's been a problem. I think that they've got to have some place to go to school, to live while they're here. But I've noticed that's, the house next to me is for rent now, and it's pretty expensive. And that's usually the only people that can afford it. It's really hard for a family in a college town to, if one parent's working, or if there's only one parent and they still got to pay for childcare. So I think there might need to be some talks on rent control. Definitely, I think that's an issue. Like I said, you know, houses in other, you know, cities where they don't have big colleges, universities, where they can, you know, get roommates and pay exorbitant amounts of rent. So I've noticed that that's been a problem, you know, ever since, you know, ever. And other than that, I really feel like it would probably be a good idea if there were more rent assistance for people in general, more income-based rent, and just in general, a good place to fall back on if you do have problems with your rent, maybe a community fund or something, because it is hard. It is, a lot of these places, you miss 1 month's rent or you're even a week late, and they send that to a lawyer, and now you're $600 more behind, you know, and it's just, it's a very slippery slope, and people end up at the bottom of the hill and they have no way to climb back up. And then, as Mr. Martinez was saying, you know, that kind of hopelessness, that kind of despair, that kind of stress, it leads to other problems, drug use, alcoholism, you know, stress. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Mr. Martinez, go ahead, please.
So housing is a very tricky issue, and I don't envy Dawn Malgaris and her job, because it is very difficult. And, you know, you go from place to place, and every town has different issues. Alamosa, a lot of people consider the rents really high. You go to Salida, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I couldn't afford to live in Salida, and you know, I've known a lot of people that have made $100,000 a year that couldn't afford to live in Salida. So part of what we need to do is we obviously need to build more housing, and the developments that are going up right now are a big deal, but we need to find a way to build affordable housing for people. We need to find a way to house the people that are unhoused right now. Because even if you choose to do drugs, you shouldn't be living on the street, you know, because that makes it worse. Working with the Housing Coalition is going to be one of the best ways to do that. Working on grant funds and stuff like that to do the projects that they're doing right now, like the one out on the west side. I think those are the types of things that we need to be working on, because it is that medium income household that's just one paycheck away from being homeless that that we need to help out, because that's a very serious issue, especially in this valley, is people live from paycheck to paycheck. And when we had those payday loan places around here, that's how they survived. And I know people who were borrowing from one to pay the other, because otherwise they weren't going to miss their house payment and they were going to be homeless. So I think looking at different ways to make housing affordable, and then of course building more, because people are moving here. So that would be a good idea.
Terrific, thank you. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you. I pride myself on being the first to admit when I haven't thought about a problem enough. I suffer from this issue of the rent and the housing in the town. I live on the south side. Currently, my house is cracking in half like an egg, and we are working on that. But the rent itself that's being charged for this home is rough, to say the least. While sitting here, I thought of a way to regulate the amount of rent that can be charged for each home, and a metric by which it could be non-biasedly judged, so that houses that are a studio apartment can't be charged to $1,500 or $1,200 or $1,600 of rent a month. That would drastically assist some of the people in this town. The other thing that needs to be addressed in this town for rent is the availability for homes or rentable buildings for people with disabilities. I live in a single income home. My wife is disabled, and I am the sole income provider for my home. And where we live is literally the only place that we can afford to live. And seeing momentum or change in that direction would be fantastic. I agree that housing first, which is the idea that you get someone who is down on their luck, homeless, addicted to drugs, you get them into a house and it allows them to start growing and feel secure enough to make strides towards release from dependency on drugs or able to find a home and hold a job. This is where we need to start, is the Housing First initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vihil.
Can I just repeat what I said 5 minutes ago? I'm just kidding. No, so just a quick review, like we brought in the Iron Horse, we helped get Mobile Century. We are working on the Boyd School housing, and we have the Montana Azul development going up on the southwest end of town. That's gonna really address the middle income folks who are in Alamosa. And I also want to bring something else up that I thought was pretty important that I forgot to talk about was the short-term rental issue that's plaguing our country, where every other house is a short-term rental, VRBO and that stuff. So here's a perfect example of how the city of Alamosa and our council saw an issue and addressed it without letting it fall to the wayside, which could have really hurt our housing stock. So what we said was we looked at all the STRs in town, and we put like a graph, or we divided the town up into 4 sections, and we saw that there's more STRs in one part of town than the other. So then we put a cap on the number of STRs that can be in that part of town. I used to live across the street from an STR, and then there was one house 2 down and then another one down there. It's like you don't have a neighbor, you don't have something where your kids can grow up with another neighbor's kids. It was hurting the neighborhoods. So I really think that was a great idea. We've allowed people to make money on STRs and do their thing. And we've also protected the health and the vibrancy of neighborhoods across town. And that has protected the housing stock. We also did this. We made it easier for people to, if they have like a garage or a shed in the back or something like that, that if they do the proper improvements and it meets code, that those buildings can now become places where people can live. So the main house, this is where I live, and then in the back, in the shed I have back there, that's up to code, someone else can live there. That helps people with housing. That helps people get off the streets. I look forward to keep doing stuff like that over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Ms. Krebs?
Thank you. Yes, housing is definitely an issue, and Jan gave some great examples of how the city is tackling it with the granny pods and the ability to even build something in your backyard to help keep families together when the parents age out of their home, for example, and they need to come live with you, or you just have those kids that just did not want to go to college, and that type of situation. I believe building more housing is important. I think one of the good steps that the city has taken is that we are mindful of the type of housing we are building as well. And a good example of that is the recent transitional housing of Horizon Heights. We recognized that there needed to be opportunities for smaller housing for the transitional from homelessness or from just bad situations, to give them that little half step up to get into housing, and giving them the time and the space to be able to do that. So looking at that as another option of fulfilling that. So thank you.
Terrific, thank you. And Mayor Coleman, earlier we lost your audio. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now. I apologize.
And the question that we're addressing right now is, how should Alamosa approach housing affordability and housing supply? Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, the good news is we've been really taking the housing shortage very seriously for several years now. We had a housing assessment study done several years back, which showed that we were several hundred houses short in our community. So the city of Alamosa and our team has been working with different funding sources. We've also been working with CRHDC housing development team to create a community to where we can address several concerns when it comes to housing. The current Tierra Azul subdivision, which is going to consist of different types of housing units from single family homes to duplexes, quadplexes, and eightplexes, and also multi-family housing development is one of the projects that they've been working on. The city of Alamosa have been working on and working in harmony with the developers for over 3 years now, and it's finally coming to fruition. So that's going to help with some of the housing shortage. But another successful thing that the city has done is produce the housing units at Horizon Heights to where we've built those homes, and we have families who are living in there. And some of those are temporary renters who've moved on to permanent housing as well. So what we can do is to continue to work with not only the funders who help with making sure that we have access to the funding opportunities to make sure that we're working smart with housing developers. We also have to continue to work with the organizations like the Housing Coalition and the Alamosa Housing Authority to make sure that we're implementing different strategies and plan to continue to grow our housing use. Another thing that the city's been looking into as well and exploring is looking into working with the housing with Don Melgares and her team in regards to some of the housing units that may be vacant in our communities and things like that to see what we can possibly come up with a strategy to work on some of those homes that may need to be at some point in time repaired, but not with particular city funds at this particular time. But we're exploring several different ways to address the
Can you
various
wrap it
housing
up, please?
sources right now. Yes.
Terrific,
Done.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along, the question is, how would you create more pride in Alamosa? Weeds, trash, broken curbs and gutters, etc. Mr. Brown? Yeah, sure. How would you create more pride in Alamosa?
You know, that's one I haven't really thought about that much. Like I said, I've always been proud of Alamosa. I like lifelong resident. I think there's good people here. I think most people do a pretty good job of maintaining, you know, the city, their area. You know, there's some rough spots. You know, my yard could definitely use some work. So I understand how it goes sometimes for folks, especially if you're, you know, the only, you know, income in the house and you're working a lot. It's hard to get stuff done like that. But I think Alamosa's done a great job with the First Fridays. You know, the city council, they've done a lot to really, you know, there was nothing going on in Alamosa for years. Nothing, you know, it was just the same thing. You know, the only difference was Sunday things were closed. So I think that's good. I think more of that. They've done a great job with this building, you know, the new county building, you know, they've done a really great job. So I think just kind of continuing that, replacing some of the older stuff, you know, maintaining some of the older stuff in town, the houses, you know, the buildings, and, you know, keep doing like they did with this building, replacing it, you know, with the library. They've done a great job with the park. They're working on Boyd Park now. They just removed the playground a couple days ago, about 2 days ago. And so they're putting a new one in. So I think just, you know, continued improvement. You know, we don't have a lot of resources here. It's kind of funny how as soon as you drive to Pueblo, all of a sudden, you know, they've got bridges and overpasses and, you know, there's a lot of people down there. So I think investing in the infrastructure a little bit more. I know the city council is talking about doing something here on Hunt Street and things like that. So I think just continue to do that. And then more things for the youth, you know, and, you know, so they're, you know, not just out there kind of wandering around doing nothing. So I think if we could do something for the youth, that way, you know, people aren't, you know, growing up and taking off. You know, they actually want to stay here and they want to do something here in Alamosa. So like I said, I've always been proud of Alamosa, and I think just can keep doing what you guys are doing. The city council's done a great job. The city's doing a great job. The county's doing well.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Martinez?
So while you're reading that question, I can hear the lady's voice in my head who asked it. I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but this is one thing I kind of do. We're out here writing citations for people's weeds, and then the weeds around the city are pretty atrocious. And I'm not sure if that's, funding for weed killer. I'm not sure if that's a labor issue, because I know labor issues are, I know about labor issues. But, I know part of the plan is we're repairing sidewalks and curbs as we do the streets and stuff like that, and that's what the street funding was for. Without seeing budgets and how the money's allocated and all that, I can't really just speak to it, but I think that we can do a better job with some of those issues, weed control being one of the main ones. And, weeds this year were crazy. I started with Roundup early, and it seemed like it never stopped because they just kept coming and coming and coming. So I think that there is a few things we can do. Yeah, you'll have to look at, again, without knowing where the money's allocated, how it's allocated, whether or not labor is an issue, it's hard to answer that question. But I think it could be addressed, these are the issues that we see, these are the issues we want to attack. And I think as far as pride in Alamosa goes, I believe the question being asked was, how do we to make it look like we're proud of the city? Because like Alex said, he's proud of his city. I'm proud of the city. I'm sure everybody here is proud of the city, but we need to do a better job of getting that message out and just essentially cleaning up what we're asking other people to clean up as well.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you. I really like this question. Community in Alamosa is something that I always talk about because you talk to everyone in town, and every single person's gonna have something that they don't like about the town. It's just ubiquitous. Everybody has one thing that they wish they could improve. When we talk about pride in our community, we talk about intrinsic value that people have for the place that they live. Now, I see a lot of this in parts of Alamosa. The arts projects that we have on Main Street are fantastic. They show that we have a really big respect for our culture and for our artists in our area. And some areas in the town kind of look like people just sort of exist there, and they don't care if it's Alamosa or Center or wherever. It's just a place where they live. Earlier, I spoke about building Alamosa into a more unified place, and this, I think, is a good place to lead with that, is helping our community work on the community. We have a lot of people that are needing work and needing money, and we have a lot of things that need to get done that we currently don't pay anybody to do. If we as a community came together and offered stipends for, pounds of weeds that were picked and then taken to the green recycling, I think our streets would look fantastic after about 2 weeks. One of the things that came up was the idea of finding more things for young people to do in this town. And I agree. I think Alamosa needs a thing, like not just the sand dunes. We're not just a gateway to somewhere else. We are a place. So we need something to draw people and for young people to do. If you're 16 to 21 in this town and you're not a dedicated video gaming hardcore nerd, there's 2 things to do in this town. Go out drinking with friends, try drugs.
Can you wrap it up, please?
Yes, sir. I think that if we find something to do for these kids and make it a thing that they'll love, it'll build more intrinsic value in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vigil?
Thank you. First and foremost, I think we need to hold ourselves accountable, the city. So any city property, any park, any public road, if there is trash, if there's weeds, if there's dirt piled up, if there's a broken curb, we need to address that. We need to fix it. That's the bottom line, first and foremost. And so how does that happen? I mean, we have our public works team, we have our parks and recs team who are driving all over town. Us as city councilors, if we see stuff, believe me, we all have told city manager about different parts of town or things that need to be addressed, and they get out and they go get it done. There used to be a team within our city, it's kind of phasing out, but it's called the Water Smarts team. We all know that we live in a desert, and so water is an issue. And if there are different parts of town that we have xeriscaped, made beautiful, made better with native shrubs, native flowers, native plants. One perfect example of this is where 160 divides either going west or east, right there by Campus Cafe. That's a Water Smarts project there. There's shrubs there. It's starting to look really nice. So those are things that we can do and keep doing. I also want to talk about the public art displays up and down the downtown corridor, the banners that the tourism board has put up. I think our town is beautiful. Are there things that we need to get better at? Absolutely. And then the last thing I'll say is this, is we can always, as a city, maybe reach out to volunteer organizations, the schools, the municipal courts can do deferred sentencing to get other people to help out and clean our town. If we all take pride in our town and the way it looks, it's just going to get better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Krebs.
Thank you. Tackling the weed part of that question is a little bit like whack-a-mole. When they all get going at the same time, and to your part, you're absolutely right. It's a limited budget. There's limited manpower type thing. So we rely on the public to tell us, you know, and so that we can help take care of that. Can we do better? I think there's always room for growth. We can always do better, but I think what we're doing currently is one of the better things that we've done is we tackle it as it comes, and we rely on the public to let us know. But for every person that says there's something over here and we go over there to fix it, there's another person going, oh, wait, but what about over there? So we'll go over there type thing. So it gets a little hard. But for the other part of it, the city has made steps to include the public in assisting with this. The Parks and Rec Department just this past year came up with a wonderful volunteer opportunity to sign up and be a part of cleaning up the parks and the trails and just having another pair of eyes out there. We have a great outdoor community. Everyone's very proud of our recreational facilities, but that's literally miles of trails. And so by putting this program in, this volunteer program into place, allows the public to help us put eyes on the trails every day, picking up trash when needed, letting us know if there's graffiti or any vandalism going on so we can address it right away. So I urge everyone out there to be a part of that. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Mayor Coleman.
Could you repeat the question so I can make sure I understand it, John?
Yes, the question was, how would you create more pride in Alamosa? There's weeds, trash, broken curbs and gutters, etc.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Yeah, currently what we're doing as a city council and as a city staff, we are doing what we can right now to help improve the different areas of the community where you may see some growing weeds and debris and things of that nature. I know sometimes people often used to talk about St. Benedict's and how they thought it was such an eyesore, but in reality, it wasn't, because we had a lot of people who would go out there on volunteer days to help clean up around that area and other areas. I think as a city, every individual who lives here can do their part in helping clean up. Whenever you see something, say something, calling and letting the city know. There's no way we can know about all the areas of town, but if you see some debris, or if you see that there are things that needs to be picked up, pick it up. It's going to take the whole city to work together to keep the city clean. And those are a few things, but also I want to keep in mind that I don't want people to think that the city is blind to some of these things. We do strategically try to work on our parks and our trails. We do try to make sure that downtown is looking good, and make sure that we put on events so that people feel proud of being part of our city and participating in those activities downtown. That's all I have.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the next question I have comes from someone in the audience this evening. And the question is, and I'll also add a comment after I read this question. What are your thoughts on the recent ICE arrest of a resident that happened in Alamosa on September 24th? And let me mention to the audience that this was arrest by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security. Both of these are federal departments and agencies, and you don't have any review over their role. But the question is, what are your thoughts on the arrest that happened recently? And we'll start with Mr. Brown.
You know, I I have mixed feelings on it. As far as that arrest goes, that's one case. And I read a little bit about it. It is a crime to enter the country illegally. I will say that I have worked with a lot of people, some nurses, some CNAs. It's hard to get into the country and it takes too long. So I can say that much. I feel if somebody's been here for a long time and they don't have a criminal record, they haven't been doing anything wrong, especially if they're working a job, I feel like, yes, some of those jobs should go to Americans, but at the same time, if you're a productive member of society, you're working hard, you're taking care of your family, you're not causing any trouble, I think they can work with you a little harder to fast track you, keep track of you, set up, monitoring, basically just if you're a part of the community already and you're doing a good job in that role, I don't feel that you should be removed. I feel that you should have an opportunity to become a citizen. I think there should be some work in it. I know I couldn't pass a citizenship test, so I don't know if it needs to be, the process, I think, could be a little easier, a little quicker. And like I said, there's other things to do besides remove people. Now, if you're a violent offender or you're a troublemaker involved in drugs, any of that stuff, then I don't want you here in any way, shape, or form. We have too many criminals that were born here. We don't need to bring in extra ones. But if, like I said, if you're a hardworking person, even a kind of a hardworking person, as long as you're not a menace to society, I believe there should be a fast track, there should be monitoring, and it should be an easier process to become a citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, please.
So, as you stated, that's not something we as a city council would be able to even address. That's federal immigration, law enforcement. I don't know enough about that particular incident. You get clips of it here and there, and you don't get a full picture from that. I've helped 4 people take and pass the citizenship test that worked for me, so that they could become U.S. citizens. So I do understand that it's difficult without knowing enough about that particular incident. I couldn't tell you if the guy had a criminal record. I couldn't tell you if, he was driving around. I couldn't tell you why he got pulled over. I don't know enough about that to address that issue. So as far as that particular incident goes, I just don't have enough of it. I do know that those were not brought in ICE agents. I've worked around law enforcement I've been around law enforcement for most of my life, and those are agents that are from the valley, in the valley all the time. How they were alerted to this particular person could have been somebody calling in saying, hey, listen, because I know that's happened before. So it just depends, and without knowing all the details of the situation, I can't really say if it was something that should have happened or if it was an atrocity, a one-off, because we don't typically see that around here.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
I'd like to apologize first because my face comes with subtitles. And so you can probably see the discomfort of this question on my face. I was law enforcement for a number of years here in the county of Alamosa. I was trained for high risk stops, which is what this was treated as. Reviewing the video, I saw an ICE agent exit his vehicle, gun drawn on on the couple that was inside of the car. I cannot tell you what the circumstances of this arrest were. I don't know the details of it, so I can't tell you what the mentality behind that high-risk stop was. I do know, based off of the available evidence that I have seen, that this high-risk stop would not have been treated that way had I been in that situation. I am aware that he failed to pull over when the flashing lights were indicated, which could cause the officers that were trying to pull over the person to make the stop, get an adrenaline rush. Bad decisions are made when you are agitated. I don't agree with what the video showed, but until I am able to review the full case, I cannot comment on the legitimacy of this arrest. I do know that as a community member, I was shocked and appalled at some of the things that I saw, though it cannot have a bearing on my will to be in the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beal, please.
This is a question out of left field. Speaking as a city councilor, we have been told by our police chief that our police will only assist federal border patrol and ICE agents if there's a person here who is a major criminal gangs, murder, rape, like really, really bad stuff. All the other immigration enforcement stuff, we're not getting involved in. I think that's still where we're at. That video that's been all over, it's making national news now too. I'm going to be very honest. I don't know the person that they picked up. I don't know the facts behind the case. And for them to pull a gun on a family like that with a baby in the back freaked me out a little bit. If he was a really, really bad guy, then he shouldn't be here. He shouldn't be here. However, not however, and I grew up on the border. I grew up in El Paso. I have thousands, hundreds and thousands of friends, people who I know who are here undocumented. And they are, and I don't like that maybe we're painting with a broad brush on people who are here working, who are getting our economy rolling, and these are good people. And this, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Krebs, please.
Thank you. I struggled with the video a little bit. It was shocking to see. I have a little bit of a background in where I spent many years being trained and seeing both sides of the story. And so we only saw one side of the story on that. And we have to keep that in mind. And we have to keep that in mind when we sit up here on city council and we hear proposals and such. But back to the arrest. It was shocking. I'm sure there's stuff about the arrest that we don't know that would add more light to the violent nature of it, but it doesn't excuse the violent nature of it. And could it have been handled better? Being the Monday morning quarterback, of course it could. I think my point that I want to make, because I did see a few comments and I wanted to stress this, those weren't our officers. We're using officers in a generic term. These are ICE agents. They were not Alamosa law enforcement. Our law enforcement works very hard to maintain the dignity of the people that they work, that they have to handle on an everyday basis. And their job is hard enough day to day without this incident putting them in a bad light. So I just want to make sure that it's more out for the radio station and the film and all that, that these weren't our law enforcement agent. I'm proud of what our officers do. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Coleman?
John, at this time, this is not really a City of Alamosa issue in regards to what happened in that incident, so I have no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to perhaps, unless there are any written questions from the audience, any others? We just have this one. Final question will be, what is your approach to strengthening downtown Alamosa and making it more vibrant year-round? Mr. Brown?
That's a hard one when it's pretty much frozen most of the year. So I tend not to leave the house if I can help it. No, that's just a joke. Like I said, you know, I'm proud of the work that the city's done. I think everybody's doing a great job. It's nice to see some of those businesses down there actually staying open for a little while. It's been one of those things over the years. They come and they go, and they come and they go, and it's hard in this economy, especially with the businesses, you know, and a lot of people don't have money to do things downtown. You know, I was very impressed on Friday with the first Fridays I drove through, and I was like, wow, what's going on down here, you know? So I almost went myself. So, but like I said, I think it's, you know, in the winter, it's hard. Like you said, year round, that's a problem. So I think more indoor spaces in that area. I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like I said, we don't know about the budget. You know, we don't know what there's involved in that. But like I said, I'd like to see some more diversity on Main Street. It seems like there's certain areas of it that are real focused on. And then, you know, you get a little bit further down the street and there's nothing going on. So I think maybe, you know, I like the block parties on San Juan and all that, but I think that could possibly be moved to another intersection once in a while instead of focusing right there all the time. I think that the first Fridays could be moved, you know, maybe down the street a little bit to focus on some of those other businesses. But doing the same thing over and over again in the exact same spots it gets redundant. But, you know, I'd like to see some businesses that, you know, can come in and people can actually afford to go do them. And, you know, I always, you know, say shop locally. You know, I know a lot of small business owners and it makes a difference. It does. You know, 1 or 2 sales a day, at least it keeps the lights on. And, you know, those buildings are expensive to heat. They're expensive to, you know, light. And I think that's kind of one of the more things.
Mr. Martinez?
Downtown's been an issue for a while, a long time actually. Part of the biggest problem is a state highway runs right through our downtown. Most downtowns in these cities that have really vibrant downtowns, their downtown is away from the major highways. You almost have to find them, and it becomes a destination. Ours is plagued by traffic in the summer. You have semis, you know, you have people sitting in these places trying to eat out on the sidewalk, and here comes a semi with cows, and all of a sudden, all you can smell is manure. You have, you know, all these trailers coming through headed to South Fork and all that. So one of the bigger problems is it's hard to do anything because of the traffic that goes through there. And I know we've tried to slow it down. We've made pedestrian zones and crossings and everything else, but it makes it harder. Most of the businesses downtown right now are destination shops. I mean, I've bought carpet twice in my life and I love them. I bought them from those guys, but I don't walk into a carpet store unless I'm looking to buy carpet. You know, I just bought an appliance from a place downtown, Altitude, but I was specifically looking for an appliance. So I think we need to attract things that are gonna be kind of a walking, let's go in, kind of like Mammoth is right now. You go in, you look at souvenirs, you have a baked potato, stuff like that. I think that's kind of what we need to attract a little bit more in that downtown area. We need to figure out how to deal with the traffic, either move the events into the side streets like we do on the block parties, stuff like that, and let the traffic flow. Or, you know, when I ran the first time, I was a fan of an alternate route rather than the one ways. And I did not win that battle. And now people are not happy. So, I mean, there could be a way to alternate the traffic.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, please.
Thank you. First thing we should probably do is redefine what downtown means in Alamosa. Downtown doesn't start at State Street. The businesses start right after you get off of the bridge, and they go all the way down to the corner of the college. We have businesses all along that road, and yet it seems like most of our celebrations and most of our attention-grabbing art pieces are all in a 3-block like range. To the point of moving the parties, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you have a consistent location where you have events that your community is participating in, your locals know where to go for the party, and that's great. When you're trying to attract a tourist side, though, you want to attract them to different parts of the town. So you have to probably mix and match, have a primary venue and then secondary venues as pop-ups. I agree that downtown traffic is hard. There isn't a good answer to this, if you think about it, because the fixing this, like removing the traffic from downtown could kill our business district. Versus slowing the traffic down causes manure smells to really hit our outdoor pedestrians. Smarter people than myself are working on this problem, and I want to work with them to find the solution. And it's not an easy one. And so I want to talk with people, and I want to find out what they desire most and then achieve that goal through either the city council or through other means. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vihil, please.
Thank you. This is a great question. We have done so much with our downtown over the last 5-6 years, and it's an ongoing project. Just some highlights of what we've done downtown is we slowed traffic down. Now, I know there's a little bit of discussion about rerouting traffic and that, but if we do that, we will kill downtown. It's not a maybe, it will. So, and then splitting the traffic going east and west, that was before my time. That was when I was still in college. But we purpose, and I know we got a lot of heat for the lanes going from 3 to 2 and putting that curb over, and that we took a lot of heat for that, boy. But I think people are slowly coming around to it. There are people out there who will never like it. I get it. But it did what we wanted it to do. We slowed traffic. People now want to stop and get a drink, get a bite to eat, shop here, shop there, and then carry on their way. We've made, and if you look at the data, if you look at statistics, it is safer going through downtown now. I think we've only had one real crash down there in the last like 3 years. Facts. We have a new hotel coming into town. That's going to be huge. People are going to stop and spend the night right in the heart of downtown, go get a bite to eat, get a drink, go back. They're spending money. We all agree that Alamosa is a tourism destination, so we're getting outside money, and that money's being spent in town. That's only going to go back to help all of us. One other thing that I'm really excited about that's going to happen here very shortly is alleyway activation. If you look at Salida, if you look at Crested Butte, if you look at these places, the alleyways behind Main Street, behind that downtown main drag, are being activated as a place where you can go get a bite to eat, you can shop. It's a lot more quiet, it's a lot more laid back, and it offers people the opportunity to go through your store and back to shop. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Krebs, please.
Thank you. I'm kind of bummed I only have 2 minutes to talk about this. So I am literally so excited. I love this question. I know there's issues. I know there'll always be issues with like the roads and everything. But again, there's that balance. And we have done so much as a city. Our economic development person at the city, Kathy, she has done an amazing job stimulating the downtown business area and getting people to see us. We got Melanzana down from Leadville. That's a win. That we have the opportunity for people to volunteer on city committees. If you have a downtown business, there's a downtown committee or a business group that meet, that they talk about what's going on with them specifically. There's a creative arts committee through the city to bring the arts, to make Alamosa a creative arts district, and downtown is a big part of that. And you see all that with all the murals and all the statues and everything. And then the Hunt Avenue development to connect Cole Park to the downtown area. And so in that way, expanding what people can see and experience. And if there's something going down in Cole Park, they can easily walk to the downtown and experience it. Along with that, the community has stepped up as well. And I can't speak enough about how much community groups like the Chamber of Commerce and Visit Alamosa, groups like the Young Professionals and the Kiwanis, they see the opportunities, the partnerships with ASU to bring ASU down to the downtown area. It's together as a group, we can sense the vibrancy and the potential of what it could be, and we'll get there step by step, and we're seeing it almost every day now. So thank you for the question, whoever wrote it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And Mayor Coleman, your answer will take us out for this evening. You have 2 minutes, please.
Okay, sure. I'll just add to what Councilor Jan V. Hill and Councilor Dunn Krebs have mentioned, because they've been very vital and instrumental in helping us come up with strategies and work with the city staff to implement things in our downtown area to make it more attractive, and to help out with the businesses that are down there. Kathy Woods, who is our economic development specialist, who has been doing a wonderful job working with the businesses downtown, not only working to attract businesses, but also working to retain the current businesses that are there. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe we have a vacancy on Main Street anymore, due to her hard work and dedication and getting the words out. Now, the city of Alamosa has also a facade grant program to where we provide funding to help out with some of the different storefronts in regards to their facades. We also have increased the murals that are downtown. I encourage all the people who haven't been downtown lately to take an opportunity to just walk and look at the different murals that we have downtown. The art sculpture program that we have incorporated as a team has been wonderful. You get to walk downtown and see all the different beautiful sculptures that are there. And not to mention not to forget to mention the collaboration that we've had with Adams State University and the lights that they have on San Juan, to where we have these amazing block parties very often here in our downtown. It's a collaborative effort with the city of Alamosa, the business owners that are there, and our community partners, and the people who are working on our different committees to make sure that Alamosa downtown remains as a vibrant downtown, to where people want to come visit and also stay the night here in a few months once we get the hotel completed.
Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for this evening. I'm John Waters from the Valley Courier. It's been a pleasure to be your moderator. I want to thank the citizens for coming out this evening, and also those citizens who submitted questions in advance. Thank you, candidates. Thank you, incumbents, for your service. Thank you, challengers, for your potential service. I want to thank the city of Alamosa. I want to thank my colleagues from radio station KSPK, and of course the Chamber of Commerce, which facilitated in getting all these great questions. Well, thank you and good evening.
Thank you, everyone.